Hey there, good morning. Out here for some garage thoughts on Good Samaritan. Um, just a couple days ago, there was another shooting in the United States, um, in Indiana. A gunman apparently had been in the bathroom for a good hour, had a rifle, went into the food court, and shot and killed a couple of people and wounded a couple of others. And there happened to be a young man, I believe he was 22, in that same mall, and he was licensed or legal to carry a gun, and he had a handgun. He shot and killed the gunman pretty quickly from when the shooting had started. And there's some issues that I've read and some articles I've read about the calling the man a good Samaritan. The mayor called him a good Samaritan. One of the issues was a group of moms that had said that he broke the rules of the mall by carrying a gun into the mall, which was against their rules. And then there was those that said the Good Samaritan didn't kill anybody and Jesus was against killing. Contextually, that's true. When you look at the text, the Good Samaritan didn't kill anybody. He came across a man that had been robbed, beaten, assaulted. When the Pharisees, those that kept to the law, just walked by on the other side. They wouldn't even go near the man. And the Good Samaritan, who Jews and Samaritans did not see each other as equal. The Jews referred to Samaritans as dogs. He went over and he treated the man's wounds, took him into town, housed him, and paid for his needs, and said that if this isn't enough money, when I return, I'll give you more. So textually, only emergency medical technicians would be good Samaritans, those that went to the victimized and treated their wounds, took them to a lodging or a hospital and paid the bill. And yet I think that misses the spirit and the implications of the account in Scripture. The Good Samaritan was the one that intervened. By intervening, he did what others wouldn't do. He responded. He met the need as it was. As someone that would intervene, if he had come across the assault and the robbery, is it possible that he would have intervened? Is it possible that he would have been willing to face death, willing to do, as Jesus says, no greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend? Would he have met force with force? If it was fists, would he have met with fists? If it was swords and blades, would he have met with swords and blades? If it was sticks and stones, would he have thrown stones or swung a stick? We don't know those things, but we do know that he intervened. We know that Jesus had said many things on different issues about loving your neighbor as yourself, to love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you. And so, that would, you don't love your neighbor by shooting and killing them. But there are other aspects of things in Scripture that, while not condoning violence, condone the defending of the innocent. Going back in the Old Covenant, God said an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. In the New Covenant, Jesus said, you've heard it said this, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, whoever, and he goes on to explain, and it doesn't contradict one another, it explains one another. Don't take the law into your own hands. When law is there, but in this case, law wasn't there. More people would have been shot and killed. No greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend, a pistol facing off against a rifle, that's taking being willing to take and give up your life for others. A rifle is far more accurate than a pistol. And to be able to stand in the face of that threat takes some courage, takes some uh, mental fortitude to be willing to die to save others. Um, and so, yeah, did the Samaritan break laws? Yeah, both in the shooting that just happened in Indiana, at least broke rules by bringing a weapon into the mall. Good Samaritan broke the rules of the Pharisees. The robbed and beaten was unclean. But they missed the spirit of the law, to care for those in need, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, to think of the needs of others and esteem them as better than your own. And so I was just thinking about, the technicality. We can get so caught up in the actual letter of the word in the Bible and the letter of a rule or a regulation, and miss the fact that human life is valuable. In the Star Trek movies, I think it was Star Trek 2, Spock says to Captain Kirk, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And that was what happened in this case. Many more probably would have been shot and killed and died before law enforcement had been on scene to take this gunman out. And we look at the situation in Uvalde with the school shooting. Looks like law enforcement was waiting in the hallway and more kids were getting shot and killed. Maybe if there was intervening sooner, some would have lived. We don't know those things. But Romans 14:23 says whatever is not done by faith is sin. And so maybe this young man they're calling a good Samaritan by faith just said, hey, I'm pulling my firearm and I'm not going to just sit here and watch people die and get slaughtered and do nothing about it when I can intervene. And I think that, if there's a car wreck, a fire, an earthquake, someone getting assaulted, a woman getting raped, a child getting abused, it is imperative that we intervene. And we don't need to carry guns. We don't need to go and shoot people. But to intervene and to help those in need, especially when we can, financially, emotionally, socially, spiritually, with our time, our talents, and our abilities. And it takes all kinds for the world to go around. And so I would just encourage anyone that might see this, don't get caught up in the letter of a word or the this is what this means and this is what this doesn't. Look at what was done. Was what was done better than what could have been? And in the case of the Good Samaritan, if the Good Samaritan had walked on by and no one else had stopped, the man would have died there, beaten and bloodied, maybe eaten by animals. So what was done was a good thing. The case of the shooting in Indiana, most likely more would have died, and those that were wounded might have bled out and died there on the floor. So while taking life, it should not be done easily and casually. We shouldn't be fearful of helping those in need, like a Good Samaritan.